be too bad. So we're going to be factoring out the greatest common factor. So we do need to understand a little bit of vocabulary first so that when I say something, you're not confused on what I'm talking about. So greatest common factor is you're going to factor out the greatest thing in each term, like the most in common. Now, when I say each term, terms are separated by a plus or a minus sign. So if I say factor it out of each term, there could be 2 terms, there could be 3. So everybody look up here. There's 2 terms here. We're going to factor out the greatest thing in those 2 terms, which each has. Right down here, there's only 2 terms still. Does everybody say there's only 1 minus sign? 2 terms, 1 plus sign. Look, 2 terms, and then this has 2 terms. So we're going to factor out the greatest thing in common. All of my examples are coming up your worksheet giving you last homework. So here we go. So let's look at number 1. It's a 2a to the 4th and 8a. We have a 2 here. Let's focus in pieces. We have a 2 here and an 8. Doesn't 8 divide by 2, everybody? So technically, here and here, there's a 2 in each term. There's a 2. So what I want you to do is go down here and write a 2. Like we're going to write what we're going to factor out. So we're going to pull out a 2. So I write it down. Now, what I'm going to do is say, what else can I pull out? There's 4 A's here and 1 A here. So can we only pull out 1 A? So we'll also pull out an A. Does everybody understand? So now what you're going to do is you wrote what you pulled out. I absolutely have to see you doing this because you'll get it right more often. What you did was you divided it out. So put parentheses, and you're going to go back and figure out what was left over once you pulled out a 2A. So what you can literally do is just do divided by 2A and divided by 2A because we pulled a 2A out of each of those. Does everybody see how I can do that? Now look, 2 over 2 divides out to be 1, correct? So there's nothing left but a 1 there for the 2's, and then we have 4 A's on top and 1 A on bottom. Wouldn't that be A cubed? 4 on top, 1 on bottom. So we have an A cubed left in the first term. So you're going to write that down. Now I want to see you crossing things out. Now that's positive 8 divided by 2. What's 8 divided by 2? Positive 4. So you're going to write plus 4. That divided out to be a 4. And then don't the A's divide out to be a 1. 4 times 1 is just 4, so we're done. Now look inside your parentheses. This is what I'm always going to have you check. Did you truly factor out everything in common? Well, yeah, do you see how there's nothing more in common in each of those? Like there's nothing more we could have pulled out, so we really did it right. Everybody good? Okay, awesome. Let's do number 2. We have a 5x cubed minus 10. Let's just focus in pieces. Isn't there a 5 in each term? Let's pull out a 5. Can I pull out x at all? Does this one have an x? No, so we would not be able to pull out an x in this one because this term does not have an x. You'd say, okay, 5 is the only thing I can pull out. Now you're going to use your parentheses. Make sure you write the 5. The 5 doesn't magically disappear into thin air. You got to write it. And then you're going to go back through and divide each term by what you factored out. So look, now we can just simplify in sections. 5 over 5 divides out to be 1, correct? So is an x cubed left in the first term? Now negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2, correct? Look, negative 10 divided by 5. So minus 2 is left over. And then you look in your parentheses and say, did I pull out everything in common? Yes, because there's nothing more in common. Now what you need to understand, everyone, I want you to understand this. This is going to help later on. Factoring is the opposite, factoring out the greatest common factor is the opposite of multiplication. So watch. Do you see how if I distribute and multiply this back in, do you see how that would be 2a to the 4th? Everybody, if I multiply it back in there, and then plus 8a, you see how that gets me back to the start? So factoring is the opposite of multiplication. Does everybody understand? So look, this is my answer, but look, if I multiply the 5 back in, do you see how that would be 5x cubed, everyone? Then 5 times negative 2 is minus 10. So does everybody see how factoring is the opposite of multiplication? Do you understand? Yes. Okay, awesome. Let's do number 3. Now don't get freaked out by more stuff. It's the same idea. Just focus in pieces. There's an 8 and a 12. Does 12 divide by 8? No, not evenly, correct? But don't they both divide by 4? What about, isn't 6 larger? 12 divides by 6, doesn't it? But does 8 divide by 6? No, so it's 4, right? So we're going to pull out a 4. So write your 4. Now focus on your A's. We have 1 A here and 2 A's here. So can we at least pull out 1 A? Okay, pull out an A. Then there's 2 b's here, 3 b's here, so we can at least pull out 2 b's because there's 2 here, 3 here. So we'll pull out b squared. Now write that, put a parenthesis, and a parenthesis. Now what you're going to do is I want to see you go back and divide by what you pulled out. So we'll divide by 4ab squared. Divide by 4ab squared. And then simplify in sections. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we have a 2 in our first term. A and A divide out completely. B squared and B squared divide out completely. So everybody seeing? Okay. Then negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. Then A squared over A, isn't that an A? Like 2 A's on top, 1 A on bottom. And then 3 B's on top, 1 B on bottom would leave me with just a B. And we're done. That easy. Look in your parentheses, there was nothing more we could have factored out, so we've done it correctly. Okay, let's do number 4. Getting down to the harder examples, but really not any harder. Okay, anyone seeing what I might factor out for the 10 and 15? Tell them. 5, right? Do you guys see it? Pull out a 5. Then C, 3 C's, 1 C. So we can only pull out 1 C. 2 D's, 3 D's, so we can pull out 2 D's, D squared. Use your parentheses, and then go divide each term by what you pulled out. 5CD squared, divide by 5CD squared. And now in sections, you can just simplify. 10 divided by 5 is 2. C cubed over C. There's 3 C's on top, 1 C on bottom, so that leaves me with 2 C's on top. D squared and D squared completely divide out. 15, negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. C divided by C is gone. 3 D's on top, 2 D's on bottom, and then so D is left. And then you say, is there anything more I could have pulled out? No, all is well. Pretty easy, right? Okay, let's go to 5. Okay, a couple more examples, and then I'm going to let you start practicing on your own. Are you guys following along? Okay, number 5. It says 15f minus 20g squared. So 15 and 20, let's focus on those. 5? Okay, let's pull out a 5. And now f and g, not the same, nothing the same. So that's all we can pull out is a 5. So now do a 5, do your parentheses. Now let's see what's left. Divide by 5, divide by 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. We still have an f. And then negative 20 divided by 5 is negative 4. And then we still have our g squared. And that was all we could do with this. Okay, number 6. This is all of a sudden where we have 3 terms. Look, 1, 2. Yep. So we have 3 terms here. The rules still work the same. It has to be able to factor out of all of the terms, not just 2 of them, all 3 of them. So don't they all have a 3 in common? Doesn't 3 divide by 3? Yeah. 9 and 15, they all divide by 3. So we'll pull out a 3 for sure. Now we have a y to the 4th and a y squared. But look over here. This term doesn't have any y's. So we cannot factor out a y. So we're only pulling out a 3. So divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. Let's see what's left over. So in term 1, 3 divided by 3 is 1. Y to the 4th is left over. 9 divided by 3, and it's positive 9 divided by 3 is 3. Positive 3. Then we have our y squared still. And then negative 15 divided by 3 is negative 5. And we're golden. Nothing more we could have done here. How about you guys do 7 and 8? Ready, set, go. So we have 10 D's to the 7th plus 2D to the 5th. Isn't 10 and 2 what we focus on first? They each have a 2 in common. Now D7, that means there's 7 D's here and 5 D's here. Can we pull out 5 D's then? So we pull out 2D to the 5th, guys. It's that easy. Some of you couldn't even get that far. Now go back and literally divide each term by that. So 2D to the 5th, divide by 2D to the 5th. And now focus in sections. 10 divided by 2 is 5. D to the 7th divided by D to the 5 is D to the 2nd. Now, This is what is very common. People say, oh, okay, 2's divided out to be a 1, which is right, don't they? And then d to the 5th divided out to be a 1. So don't say nothing's left there. There's a 1 there. There's never nothing left. It's always, if everything divides out, then it divided out to be a 1, not a 0. Everybody good? Okay, now do number 8, guys. Do number 8. You should be able to zip through that one in 40 seconds or less. So right here we pull out a 7 and a w squared, right, everybody? Yeah. Divide by 7w squared, divide by 7w squared. So left in the first term, 7's divide out. W to the 5th divided by w squared. When you divide, you subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. Negative 35 divided by 7 is negative 5. And then the w squared is divided out to be 1. It's that easy, guys. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. Okay, cool. Go to 9, 10, 9. Go to number 9 and do number 9. Quickly. Ready, go. Number 9. 30 seconds. Some people already have it. Factor out the GCF. That's all we're doing. You got it? Okay. This one's really straightforward. So if you felt like it was too straightforward, you were probably right. Probably right. Yeah. Okay, so you factor out 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. So you have to just go, oh, x plus y. Everybody, it's that easy, right? Okay, next one. Here's one rule you've got to know. This is just a rule that you've got to know. There's no reason. There's a reason, but you're not going to know right now. Here's the rule. If you ever have a negative in the front term, in the very front term, and only in the front term, we always factor out a negative with our greatest common factor. So for example, if I went back here, and I'm going to just show a basic example of what I'm talking about, and then we'll get a more hard one. If this would have been negative 2x plus 2y, do you see how there's a negative in the front? Everybody? So what we should factor out, if we ever have a negative in front, is factor out, okay, you'd say there's a 2 in common, but instead of just factoring out 2, you should be factoring out negative 2. So then you would write your parentheses, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. So then negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1, so that'd be x, and then positive 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Does everybody see how that works? You just factor out a negative, and then divide each term by the negative. So that'd be minus y. So look at number 10. There's a negative in front. So we're going to just remember that we need to factor out a negative, but only because the negative's in front. Okay, 32 and 24. This one's a little bit harder to think of the greatest common factor. 8. Everybody's seeing it. Okay. So we're going to factor out negative 8. Everybody write that. Now we have 2 y's, 1 y, so we're going to factor out negative 8y. So now do your parentheses, and literally it's not hard because now you just go back and divide each term. You literally just write what you pulled out. And then I'll simplify it in sections. So it's not really hard, you just got to do it in sections. Negative 32 divided by negative 8 is positive 4. Positive y, and this is just y. Y squared divided by y is just y. And then right here, you've got to be careful because in this particular example, it's negative 24 divided by negative 8, which is positive 3, isn't it? And then our y's divide out, so we're done. So not any harder, you just got to remember if there's a negative in front. Factor out a negative. Okay, let's do number 11. There's 1, 2, 3 terms. That's when we just say what's the greatest common factor, but it has to be in all 3 terms. So don't they all divide by 2? Don't they all divide by, well, there's 2 x's here, 1x, 1x. So can't we pull out an x? There's 1 y here, 2 y's, and 1 y. So we can pull out a y. 1 z, 1 z, 1 z. So it looks like we truly can pull out a z. So we've written what we're pulling out. Now you'll do your parentheses and write what's left in each term. So go back and divide by your GCF, so 2x, yz, divide by 2x, yz, divide by 2x, yz. If you write it, even I, with a math degree, do this every time just to make sure I get it right. It's just worth it. 6 divided by 2 is 3. X squared divided by x is just x. Y over y is gone. Z over z is gone to be a 1. But we don't need to write the 1. We can, but we don't need to. 2 over 2 is 1. X over x is 1. Y squared over y is y. Isn't it positive y? It's a different term, so you gotta make sure I write plus y. And then our z is divided out. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. X is divided out, y is divided out, z is divided out. So we're done. Not bad. Okay, how about you guys give it a try with this one? Number 12, go for it. Now notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. But you do it the same way. Factor out the greatest common factor only. But it has to be in all four. So we pulled out a 4a. So then you wrote your parentheses divided by 4a, divided by 4a, divided by 4a, divided by 4a. 12 divided by 4 is 3. A to the 4th divided by a is a cubed. B cubed, c squared is still there. Ding ding. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1, so minus. A cubed divided by a is a squared. BC squared. Then positive 8 divided by 4 is positive 2. A squared divided by a is a. And then a c. And then right here, negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4. And then our a's divide out, but b was left. Did you guys get it? Awesome. Okay, go to your homework. So this Bible are all the examples. I'm just going to make sure that we're good on a few. So go to number 1 and 2. Ready? Look at number 1. It says factor out the greatest common factor. Do you see how 9 and 8b squared have nothing in common? So can't factor. Yep. What about number 2? Anything in common? No. I'm going to change the problem though. What if I put this? Negative x minus 5. Would we factor out something? The negative sign. In fact, we'd factor out a negative 1. Everybody watching, because you're going to see this on a quadratic in a while, and you're going to have a hard time if you're not paying attention to why. So we would factor out negative 1. Does that make sense? So then divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. So left would be positive x plus 5. This would be ideal. Just making sure everybody understands. But it wasn't negative. So no. Number 3. In 45x squared minus 25, what's the greatest thing in common? 5. Pull out a 5. So then divide by 5, divide by 5, and let's see what's left over. So you guys are good with that. Okay, I think you guys are good. I'm going to let you go for it. Okay, I think you're good. I truly believe we're all golden. So, what I want you to do is go up through, do 1 through 8, check off with me, and then we'll do another example in a second. A little bit harder. So pay attention so that you can do the hard ones on your own. So 33 has 4 terms. We're going to factor out the greatest thing in common in all 4 terms. Also notice there's a negative in the front. So we're going to factor out negative. Now look, 32, 4, 12, and 16. Oh, we've already, okay, yeah. Let's factor out a 4, right? 4. We're going to factor out negative 4. And then look, m to the 6th, m and m. So can we pull out an m?
Yes.
M to the 8th, n to the 8th, n to the 4th, and n. So we can only pull out one n. So then you'll literally go divide each thing by 4. Negative 4mn, that's an n. Negative 4mn, divide by negative 4mn, divide by negative 4mn. And now we'll just simplify it in sections. So it looks big and scary, but it's really not. Negative 32 divided by negative 4 is positive 8. M and m divide out to be 1. M to the 8th divided by m to the 1st is m to the 7th. Positive 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. So if you need to write the 1 there, do it. M to the 6th divided by m is m to the 5th. N and n divide out. Positive 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. N's divide out. N to the 4th divided by n is n cubed. Positive 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. N's divide out, n's divide out, and we're done. Now you've got to check in your parentheses. There shouldn't be anything left in there. If you still had an n right here, for example, then you'd say, oh crap, there's still n's in common or whatever, you know what I mean? But this one, we're good. But it's like I had an a to the 5th, an a and an a cubed. You'd say, oh crap, I forgot to factor out an a. Does that make sense? There's more in common. There shouldn't be anything left in common. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you some more time to finish up that sheet. Everybody looking up here, pay attention, because this is going to come into fact when we factor a quadratic later. So if I said to you, find the greatest common factor, we know that means pull out the greatest thing in each term. Terms are separated by plus or minus signs. So aren't there two terms here? Yeah? What's the greatest thing in common? It's slapping you in the face. An x minus 3. Don't each of them have an x minus 3? So we're going to factor out an x minus 3. So I pulled out x minus 3. So then just like with our other examples, we'll divide by x minus 3, divide by x minus 3. So then left here is just a 2, correct? And then left here is just a plus 5. And now can I combine those? Yeah, because that's just a number. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's x minus 3 times 7, isn't it? But if this, okay, we can only combine those because they're like terms. Okay, let's do another one. So this is a better example. So if I say that you factor out the greatest common factor, what's in each term that's in common? You can't do this, you can't factor a quadratic. So you should be watching, not on your phone, or else I'll Mr. Johnson the crap out of it. Okay, so what's the greatest thing in common here? X plus 1. Is everybody seeing it? Factor out x plus 1. So then divide by x plus 1. Divide by x plus 1. So then don't those divide out? So then left here would be a 2. Don't those divide out? Minus x. And do you see how we can't factor, we can't combine them. So we're done. Okay, do this one. You do it. Go for it.
On the whiteboard?
Yep, whiteboard. Because if you can't do this, you can't factor a quadratic. Guys, isn't there two terms?
Yeah.
Isn't it slapping you in the face what's in common? 3x minus 2. So then divide by 3x minus 2, divide by 3x minus 2, ding, ding. Left is x plus 4. Do we all understand? I don't know. Okay, then do this one on your whiteboard. Okay, if you didn't get it right, if I said yes to you, you can just go back to the worksheet. But you two need to do this one. Yeah, because I didn't say yes to you. So the people that got it on the first try with no problems, you don't have to do this one. You can go back to the worksheet. Otherwise, try it. Make sure you can do it right. Can't do this, you can't factor a quadratic. You can't factor a quadratic, I can't pass you. Nice, you got it. No. Very good. No, what's in common? You're thinking too hard about it. Two terms. Terms are... Okay, so then pull that out, and then what's left? Okay, now pull it. You didn't write what you had to pull it out, so you have to write it. Yep, just like with our other GCS. Very good. Use parentheses and then multiply. So then divide each by that, and then what's left over? Okay, good. Okay, there you go. There you go. So you pull out x minus 5, so then divide by x minus 5, divide by x minus 5. So then left in the first term, let me see, 2x minus, and then 1. Okay, good. Awesome, that's it. So the rest of the time is just to finish the worksheet, and then next time we'll learn to factor quadratics, one of the biggest lessons of the year.